Hi, good morning. Welcome to A Jewish Perspective again. I'm your host, Jerry Isaac Shapiro. We tried out a little bit of research that our crack staff, which means me, has been doing. The Torah in Genesis, in Breshit, says it's not good for a man to be alone. And the Talmud says any man who has no wife lives without joy, without blessing, and without goodness. And to round it out, the rabbinic threesome, the Agadah says, whoever weds a suitable woman, Elijah kisses him and God loves him. So it's clear there's a lot of modern commentators, for that matter also, who would add their 2 cents worth. A couple thousand years ago, when a lot of these things were written up, it was hard enough to find a suitable mate, and we can talk about what suitable means. Today, in the U.S. and in San Francisco, like my grandmother would have said, some people think it's 2 words, possible. It's very tough. But there's been a recent phenomenon that's kind of breaking through the impossibility called speed dating. I don't know if anybody has heard it. There are websites, there are email addresses. The New York Times, the Toronto Globe and Mail has just been flooding the airwaves. With us this morning are Rona Kram and Yossi Offenberg, from very different perspectives, give us a sense of what speed dating is, how it works, how it doesn't, the perceptions of that. And even before we go into speed dating, I want to ask Yossi, who, by the way, is the Jewish Programs Manager at the JCC in San Francisco, to ask you, put speed dating aside, how is programming for singles, broad category, programming for singles developed over the last 3, 4, 5 years? How's it changed?
Programming for singles within the Jewish community, I think, lately, to a large degree, still reflects the singles community in general. That is to say, get-togethers, events, but usually they're centered around some sort of a Jewish theme, be it a holiday like a Purim event or a Hanukkah bash, or something that elicits some sort of Jewish tradition. But it hasn't been specifically Jewish, except that, the center, again, is some sort of Jewish theme. But, again, people just get together, they mill around, they network, they schmooze, they socialize with each other. And because the Jewish community is so spread out here in the Bay Area, you have them happening at different locations. You have in San Francisco, the Best Shalom Singles Night, the Friday night singles dinners, that's very popular. You have events happening in the South Bay. The trend that I would say of late is to have a lot more Jewish internet sites and connections for singles out here.
The ages, are they the same as they used to be? When you say singles, what's that mean? And don't worry, Rona, you're here for a purpose. But when people say singles from a programming perspective, what are they usually thinking about?
I would say predominantly most of the people would be in their 30s to 40s. That's where it's weighted mostly. The 20s, far less. And increasingly amounts of people in their 50s as well coming back into the dating scene.
Okay. Now, Rona, it doesn't matter into which category you fall, but when people from the other end, the potential consumers of singles programming, are looking at this stuff, does it matter? And you're a demographic of one, I understand, but you can extrapolate about your friends and people you know. Does the component matter? Should it be social? Is it with that Jewish central piece that Yossi mentioned about?
Well, I like the fact that it's Jewish. I've not done many social events that aren't Jewish. I think most of them I've related to Jewish functions.
Speed dating. First of all, before you pipe up, before the first time you heard about it, think back. What was your impression when somebody said, "This is what it is," and you said,
"That's a great idea"?
You did?
I did.
Okay. So what did the person say? How was it first described to you?
It was told to me through a friend, and she happened to have a friend in L.A. who she is in constant
Contact?
Contact with, and she has kept me appraised of the development of her friend. And I said, oh, you have to tell me, and when's it coming to San Francisco? And she said, well, I believe it's only in Los Angeles. And so finally I heard that it had come up here, and I immediately called the JCC. So I was very interested in it.
Okay. So Yossi, give us, the 1, 2, 3 punch of the mechanics. What is speed dating?
I just have to tell you, first of all, when I first heard about it, I actually laughed. I laughed out loud, and I couldn't believe it. I thought, what are they thinking of next? What a gimmicky title. And if I could say, I recall you laughing as well, and rolling your eyes several times, and not believing it. And I thought, this is the last program I'd ever kind of run. I mean, speed dating, there's no substance, it's all fluff. And the last 3 months of running it has drastically changed my opinion of it and what the program is all about. The program itself is based on a traditional Jewish way of dating. And the traditional Jewish way of dating is more in a cerebral way. It's an intellectual type meeting where you actually meet a person and get to know them in terms of what they have to say, what they're thinking about, what their values are, their beliefs. So basically a forum is set up where people can meet cerebrally, where they can talk. More than just schmooze, but they can actually have a chance to discuss things that are of value. The word speed comes in, I think, to play in the fact that you get a chance to meet many people. It's not just one person, but up to 10 people. So we actually run it at a Starbucks, which is a public place, so there's no sense of feeling uncomfortable or, in danger.
No more so than usually meeting somebody whom you've never met before.
Right, right. And you sit at a table with somebody who you've not met before, and you speak to them for 8 minutes. And after the 8 minutes, you have a card, unlike a scorecard, where you actually fill out 2 simple questions. After talking to them for the last 8-10 minutes, was this person nice and respectful, yes or no? And would you like to see this person again, yes or no?
And that's it, 2
That's
questions.
It, just 2 simple questions.
Okay.
And if you agree and if you say yes, and if the other person also says yes, there's a mutual match. And both people are called within 2 or 3 days, given the phone numbers, and they're free to take it from there.
Now, one of the pieces that I read, I think it was the Toronto paper, called it musical chairs for grown-ups, and that's kind of, so. Does a bell ring? I mean, what happens literally? Give the picture.
Literally, a bell does ring. I mean, we have an 8-minute timer, and we try and keep it consistent. And at the end of the 8 minutes, a bell is rung, signaling the end of that round. Everyone's very appreciative with each other, and they stand up, and the men get up and walk around based on the Jewish tradition that the woman is the queen, and the men must do the moving. So literally the men do get up and move around as the woman stays in the place.
Okay, now Rhoda, from your perspective, the first time, you've done this a couple times, right?
Twice.
Okay. I imagine you were, can I say, apprehensive or hesitant at all, or did you just plunge on in?
I
a strong
plunged
woman. Okay.
right in.
All right. So the questions, I understand, they're not what's your sign and what car you drive, right? They're of substance. What questions do you remember?
Well, I do
discussing.
I do remember being asked not to ask what you do for a living. So basically, you could ask anything else, and you could use your own questions, or Yossi had questions that were available to you. And
I actually have a few of those here.
Very good questions,
yes,
by
they
the
are.
way.
Yeah, they are.
You don't necessarily always use them, but it was a help to have them.
So how did it run, if I can pry a little bit? You are here for that reason. Did you ask, it was answered, then the person asked the same one?
You could. You could. Or you could be asked, it was almost like taking turns. It's like if you really had something to say, you could ask the question, or if the gentleman wanted to ask a question, it was fine.
When the bell rings, right, and ding dong, time to move. What if you're really engaged, just having a great conversation? How does that work? It feels a little awkward, almost, so contrived to say, okay, now break up.
Well, hopefully you are having a great conversation. If you're not, that bell is wonderful.
I bet.
Could be a long 8 minutes.
So you just finish it up, and hopefully you're going to say, yes, I want to match with this person, and he does the same thing too.
Yeah, Yossi, what are the things that people are encouraged not to do? Phone number exchange?
Right. We try and maintain a lot of, I would say, security, especially in today's age. So phone numbers are not exchanged. Last names are not given out as well. Really, the main focus is on getting to know who this person is sitting across the table without any fear that, you know, if you're not interested, they can somehow call you. I mean, it's got to be mutual.
So I have to ask, it's been going on, one, this is not just a Bay Area phenomenon, it's based in LA, from Asia Torah, we should say, initially, but now it's in what other cities?
It's actually run now in 5 countries and 13 cities around the world. Statistically, we've been told that in the last 10 months since the program has been running, it's now become the Jewish world's most highly attended singles program. The website went up about 4 weeks ago, and in their first 2 weeks of it going up without it being advertised, they had 1,000 people register and ask to be set up for speed dating. They had requests as far away as Bangladesh for this program. I mean, it has become now a worldwide phenomenon.
Are there any demographics? Who's coming? Who's knocking on the door as far as ages or backgrounds?
All ages. All classes are filled. I mean, we're usually sold out 2 to 3 months ahead in all categories, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s plus. Predominantly, though, I would say the most attendees call for the 30s and 40s.
Rona, when you did this, did you have a thought in mind who was going to be there? You know, when you go to a dance, you go to a function, you kind of think X type, you know, I don't want to pigeonhole too much, will be there. One, did you have a thought in mind? And two, was that what you met? Were you surprised?
The first time that I went, we had more men than women, and so it was very nice from the women's perspective. I think there were 14 or 15 men.
How's it work mechanically? One sits out? Okay. All right.
And there were only, I think, 10 women. So I met a lot of different kinds of men, and all very, very nice men. Maybe not necessarily who I'd choose to go out with, but there was definitely a lot of eligible men there. So it worked out very nicely. And the second time, it didn't happen that way. There were more women than men. So I think that Yossi's working on that, getting a better balance. But it was to my advantage because the second time I met a new woman friend because we sat out and I had a chance to talk to women. So I was very appreciative.
So at the very least, people are coming away, I would assume, with some friendships, if not some dating possibilities. So you talked to women friends, right, I assume, before you did this. Were any of them hesitant and said, what the hell are you doing? Or did they say, this is cool, let me sign up?
The one friend that told me about it, the one who had the friend in LA, wouldn't come with me. But I decided I was doing it, and it didn't matter what my friends say. And most of them are so supportive anyway. So they think it's great.
Other family members?
My kids thought, go for it, Mom.
Now, I've heard that they figured out a name for you?
They called me the speed dating queen.
Speed dating queen. Well, listen, you know, parents have been called worse, so that's not too bad. Speed dating queen. I don't know if you'd want that on your tombstone, but you know, for now, that's not bad. What about the results? Has it been going on long enough so we know there's been, you know, marriages, hookups, connections made?
It's actually amazing. Within the last 8 months that we've run the program, so far we've had 3 marriages, 2 engagements, and quite a few things pending. So it's been phenomenal. We've also had, I would say, an increase that wasn't anticipated in terms of people's return to Judaism through this. The questions that are asked are usually so probing and so deep that not only do they ask someone else, but they become reflexive in a way. How can I ask somebody else those questions if I don't know what they are myself? And it starts some sort of soul searching, and it's been really positive.
I want to toss out a few of these to give people an idea of what we're talking about. This is from one of the websites. There are many. 14 things to talk about on a date, just at random. How do you envision your home to look? It's kind of interesting. What's your most treasured possession? Where do you see yourself in 10 years from now? Why do you want to get married? What do you think is your greatest strength, greatest weakness, and others? Like you said, questions that try to get at more of a heart than the superficial stuff. I understand that you both used some of these and kind of went off on your own. What are some of the questions you remember either asking or being asked?
Oh, what do you want from a commitment? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? One of the questions that I liked was, which would you rather be, rich or happy? Just a very broad range. I think less of the Jewish questions were asked, but why did you choose to do speed dating?
Right. Do we need this? Does the community, or let's say American society in general, the Jewish community in particular, do we need speed dating? Why?
Why?
Yeah, and why didn't we before, and why do we now?
Well, we need it because there are so many more singles now, but it's so hard to meet singles, to meet the opposite sex in a safe situation. And I've not tried the internet, and I like being fixed up by a friend, and if I'm not going to be fixed up by a friend or somebody who knows somebody, this is really a wonderful way to go. You can learn a lot about somebody in 8 to 10 minutes.
You know, I think that it's no secret that the bar scene, the nightclub scene, I mean, has been done to death, and that kind of scene gets old very, very quickly. And meeting someone in a place where you can't even hear what's being said because of the noise in a club, or not even knowing if the person is sober because a club lends itself to drinking, is not the best launching pad, I think, for a relationship that's going to carry many, many years. I think you're best off starting by being serious, because, I mean, ultimately marriage or relationship is a serious thing. And to not know what you're getting involved with and who you're getting involved with, I mean, doesn't make a lot of sense when you're considering spending 20, 30, 40 years with the person. And before one becomes emotionally and physically involved with the person, it's much, much better to find out who this person is, because that investment is very costly if it's with the wrong person.
Now, what you're saying is, I mean, smacks of being right, but it's also, like you said a number of times, relatively serious. Are the people who are doing this, in your limited experience, are they coming in with an agenda, meet someone, match up, get married? Are they coming in to say, let's just see what happens? Are they coming in just to meet people?
Well, I can only talk about my own experience, but I think that everybody that does come, whether they're male or female, is serious about meeting somebody. And if it works out, that's wonderful. If it doesn't, well, then you can do more classes. You can always sign up again for speed dating.
Right.
So.
And is there a distinction between the different age groups? I would imagine that people are a little bit more focused on marriage as they get older, but is that true?
We actually do have a distinction. We have a demarcation between the ages. There's a 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, and 50s plus age group. So people within the same age range, chances are going to have the same value systems and the same thoughts.
Can you opt for another, say you're 30 and you really appreciate 50-year-old men or women? Is that doable?
We have that option. I mean, it's very hard to make a hard and fast rule. I mean,
Sure.
you're 29 and or you're 39. Many people
You
are
look for
39
documentation?
forever.
You check, I mean, seriously, you
Right.
check for driver's license?
So there's a lot of actually flexibility built into the program. I mean, a gentleman who's in his 40s and wants to meet a woman who's in the 30s, that's fine. Or, there's always carryover in ages. And this summer we're actually planning to experiment with new age groups, 25 to 35, the 5s, 35 to 45, 45 to 55.
Right.
So the ranges are there. It's more a question of how serious are you about finding someone, and what are you willing to invest in finding it. And if you want a different age group, we're very open to that.
and we haven't talked yet about this is Jews meeting Jews, right? It's set up by Aish Torah, which is a traditionally based organization. Again, are you asking when people come to the door, papers, documentation, just ask a question, or is it assumed?
Right. Well, the program speed dating is actually, I should say it at the outset, it's actually a licensed and trademarked program. Both the name,
The little tiny TM right next to it. Yeah.
like everything,
Okay.
both the program and the format of the program. So we run it under auspices of Aish Torah. So we have to adhere to whatever license agreement we have with Aish Torah. So the program is run, and it was based on the original premise of maintaining Judaism, of having Jews marry other Jews. So we do ask at the outset people if they are Jewish or not Jewish. But that's it outside of that.
Has that come up? Has somebody, a Judophile, one who's either interested in Judaism or in Jews, but it doesn't happen to be him or herself, have they approached and said, let me in?
Many, many times, and often not. It's the reporters. We get many reporters. Almost every week we have a different reporter from the secular news media. And after watching it, they say, hey, how can I sign up for this program? They think it's great. So many non-Jews have been asking about it. We're actually in discussions about opening it up to everyone and perhaps licensing it out to other organizations, churches, other bodies, because I think it benefits everybody.
You start with a conversion program as a feeder group and then go into this. Well, it has hit a number of papers, The Guardian, like we said, other media outlets around the country. Has it been as successful in other parts of the country as it has been here?
New York is phenomenal. They actually have now purchased a building for speed dating where they have numerous personnel running this full-time. Apparently they get 60 people a night for speed dating, whereas the limit used to be 7 and 7, so 14 people. Now they're running 60 people a night, and they're still not able to keep up with demand.
Repeats, you've done this twice. Would you want to do it again?
Not for a while.
Not for a while. Why not?
Oh, I'm happy the way things have gone right now. So.
Okay. Are you finding, or have you talked to people who want to sign up again and again? Is that encouraged, discouraged?
We're happiest when we lose a customer. When they say, I'm so happy with who we met, we're not coming back.
Right.
And that's the best. So we encourage that. And of course, this is set up where people can meet and find the mate for life. So if they haven't met in that first group of 7 to 10 people, come back and try again. Sure.
Okay. We'll do this again at the very end, but I want to make sure people are able to get in touch with you. We'll run it on the screen, but you'll see if they're interested in speed dating, and there we have it. The number is
415-292-1237. And I ask in advance that people be very patient. To say my phone line is jammed is an understatement. And we'll
I can vouch for this. Truth in Advertising, by the way, if you haven't caught on, Yossi and I work with each other at the center, and I've seen his email address boxes completely crammed full, spilling out outside of the console and outside over the desk, and I've heard his voicemail saying, please get me in. Joking aside, are you feeling any pressure from people to say, hey, let me into the list?
An enormous amount of pressure.
Really?
I mean, almost to the extent of favors being offered to get people.
Anything good? Go ahead. Very few people are watching. Go ahead.
People really want to get on that list. And
really?
Yeah, especially when you tell them it's sold out, which it often is.
Right.
I mean, they ask, they beg, they plead. The waiting lists are huge. I mean, it's amazing. Because people really, really want to have a serious relationship. And we're very happy. I mean, we are going to unfortunately need to hire more staff or expand the program to deal with the increased amount of traffic. But I think it's great that it's caught on like that.
Rona, when a friend of yours asks you, about the experience, the first thing that you come up with is what?
I think it's a great way to meet men. It's in a safe environment. It's the Jewish connection is very nice. And how many times do you get to meet 10 different men in an evening? So the whole program works.
If there would be anything that you would change about the program, what would that be?
Well, probably just what I saw was that it was an even amount of men and
Mhm.
women. That would be the only thing. Other than that, I think it works very well.
You know, it's thinking about this for quite a while now, but here, listening to both of you, it's amazingly simple and straightforward. And maybe all the gimmicks in the world weren't working because you just get people together talking and give them a little bit of a space.
I think it's brilliant in its simplicity,
Hmm.
and it really harkens back to the way people used to meet for generations before the consumerist type market where you had clubs. I mean, people used to meet by discussing things of value, things of concern, what their goals are. They weren't going out to watch a movie because they weren't interested in discussing a movie. They were interested in discussing what each other's plans are and finding out if this mate would maximize their own potential.
Well, but there were also, speaking about traditions, not just within Judaism, but other cultures, matches.
Mhm.
You enter the matchmaker, right? Shadchanim.
Right.
And the Bay Area has a couple official, formal Shadchanim, matchmakers now. Have you heard at all from any of them? And secondarily, have you heard from parents of participants? I don't know, it just hit me right now.
Well, with your first question, we haven't heard from matchmakers. I think we may be putting them out of business because you actually become your own matchmaker.
Uh-huh.
You decide, based on your conversation, who you want to see or
Mhm.
not see. So it's almost like a self-serving matchmaker. And we haven't heard any comments yet from any parents. But we do get people of all ages and who are parents and those who are singles. We've actually had a mother and daughter at different ranges come through.
No, not at the same time.
Definitely not
Okay.
the same category.
That would be
So,
awkward.
Yes.
Any siblings, brothers, sisters at the same time?
We have had siblings come through at the same time.
Okay, and I have to ask, have there been any, not chairs thrown, but has there been any fireworks at all?
That's-
Possessiveness, anything at all? I saw him first, she's mine.
Nothing.
No.
That's amazing. I mean, you run. I mean,
Hmm.
I run many programs, and there's always usually complaints.
Hmm.
And
Not that many, but yeah, a handful.
But we do get complaints.
Right.
In this program, considering that it's a very emotionally charged subject, we have yet to have one in terms of the program itself, which is amazing because many hundreds of people have come through the door. There's no Achilles heel in this program. It seems like.
Well, we've got less than a minute. Rona, thank you very much. Congratulations on successfully graduating and enjoying yourself in speed dating. Yossi, congratulations on one heck of a successful program. I should know because it's eating up your time, and when you're away, the voicemails kick over to my number. The number, again, if people want any information at all and to get on your list is?
It's 415
Mhm.
292 1237.
Okay, 1237, and there you have it on the screen. Thank you again. More success to you if you go again. Mazal tov, good luck, and if you don't, congratulations. And thank you very much. If you're interested in speed dating, give Yossi a call. Jam his box a little further. Thank you for tuning in to A Jewish Perspective. Thanks.